Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Levitius back with a brand new video. We are racing 32 laps at Grand Valley Highway in round 4 of the GTWS Manufacturers Cup. All tire compounds were available, but the racing hards were mandatory to do at least one lap on them. Personally, for me, the BMW M6 was not very strong at the circuit on the racing hards, so overall my strategy was very much focused on getting as many laps on the soft tire as possible. Overall, this race is an absolute banger and I cannot wait to share it with you all today. Also to say thank you so much for all the support on my latest videos. We hit the like goal of 30 likes twice now in a row, and thank you for all the new subscribers who joined the channel. And if you guys do enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And take care, brush your hair, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you guys in the next video sometime soon. Peace. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we are for my qualifying lap for the race. As we head down to turn 1, we brake just after the 300 board and we hook up the apex of the corner and we short shift up to 3rd gear to get a very stable exit. So a solid turn 1 overall. So now as we head into turn 2, turn 3 and turn 4, the fastest corners on the Grand Valley Highway circuit, we want to try and avoid going over the white line there to get a penalty, and then we brake just before the 300 board, going and hugging the apex as tight as possible to get a very good run out of turn 5. As we head down to turn 6, 7, 8 complex, it's a very tricky complex of corners. We have to go out wide and swoop back in as we miss the apex just a little bit. I was not very happy with that. As we head now to turn 9 and 10, you have to try and stay as tight as possible to the apex here to get a good run out of this very slow speed corner, probably the slowest corner on the track. As we head down to turn 11 now, we want to do a late apex and try and get on the throttle as early as possible going to turn 10, where the exit out of this corner can really make or break the lap with how important it is, as we get a very stable, very clean exit out of there. Overall, the lap's been decent so far. We've got a 108.5, which is really a really good split for a lap 1 time. And as we go down to turn 13, we try and hug the entry of the corner as much as possible as we hook up the apex of the first and second part of the chicane. And overall, this is a very good lap. A solid banker for our first lap. The last lap, let's full send it. It's a good banker. Very good banker. And as we round to turn 17 and then turn 18, we get a very straight and smooth run to the line. And we get a set a 1 minute 45.7, which is provisional pole at the time. As we fast forward now to the second qualifying lap, we're going to go into turn 5 and hook up the apex pretty well and carry a lot of minimum speed compared to our first lap. And we're going to be up by about 1/10 of a second going into sector 2. But there is one issue. We do have the AMG in front of us, which is not ideal. As we clip the dirt then lose the rest slightly going into turn 9 and then turn 10, the lap has been quite messy so far. It's not going our way. As we almost lose the rear again coming out turn 10 as we drive down to turn 11. This traffic up here is a bit distracting for me. I usually try and drive on my own when we're in a qualifying lap. But unfortunately, the driver pit wasn't as fast as me. And as we exit turn 12, we lose the rear and try and follow.
It threw me off.
We follow the AMG into the barrier almost. So unfortunately, this was not going to be an improvement.
I could have got a 45.5.
However, it is going to be
we could have got a 45.5, chap.
pole position.
Is that a miracle right now?
Get in there, Lewis. Miracles to happen, mate.
I've not been on pole position for a while. This is cool. We got TX3 in 1st and 4th, which is good. We got in some other friends behind us as well. Let's do this, baby. Beautiful.
And it's lights out, and away we go for the 32 lap race of round 4 of the Manufacturers Cup. As we head down to turn 1, we're probably looking for the 100 board to break there. And we do a decent job there as we got Kai behind us and the Russian of Marx and then our teammate of TX Revo.
Let's push.
At this moment, honestly, we're just trying to see like who's going to be staying with us throughout the race, who's got the pace, who's being a little cautious, who's on what tires, are they on softs, are they on hards. Because generally the strategy for this race was using the softs for as long as possible and then using the hards for a short period of time as possible because they were so much slower than the softs. And as you can see, we're starting to pull out a gap to Kai already to around about 0.8 of a second. It seems like we are starting to pull the gap already, which is looking good for us, as it's going to be important to get away from those Supras, which is going to come into play later into this race. So far, so good. A very clean lap, just building up our confidence on the first lap. You don't want to push over the limit with the colder tires because we've been sitting on the grid for around about 2 minutes or so. So the tires won't be at their peak performance at the moment. So it's just important to build up your confidence. And as we head down to turn 1 on lap 2, as you can see, the Russian driver behind us has got past Kai, which is a little nerve-wracking to think about because that Supra was absolutely rapid on the straights around Grand Valley. So at the moment we have got a car that's way better in the handling section of Sector 2, while the Supra behind us is easily gaining around about 4-5 tenths on the straight alone without slipstream. So when you combine that with slipstream, it's going to be a little scary to keep him behind. But at the moment we're just going to try and stay in the race. As we fast forward to lap 4 now, we're keeping him honest behind us. As we exit turn 5, we go on the throttle a little too early and almost lose the rear going in to the dirt on the right hand side of the track. And that was a little bit of a wake-up call right there, just to ease into the race and then regroup. But listen, it happens around this track. It's very low grip, and even on soft tires, it's really not easy to drive around here. So honestly, regain. Yeah, as I said, they regain and forget about what just happened and start getting back into a rhythm. As we fast forward now to the end of lap 4, we're going to exit the chicane very well, as the driver behind us almost loses as well. So as you can see,
it's so easy to make a mistake here, chap. It's so easy to make a mistake here. We just need to be a little more careful out of that hairpin and out of the chicane, and we should be fine. Okay, forget about what just happened. Let's move on. Come on.
Exactly, that's the spirit. Honestly, whatever happens in the race before, you just have to forget about it if it was not good for your confidence. As we now fast forward now to lap 8, we've kept the Russian driver behind honest, and he's still within a second, but he's not close enough to go for a move into turn 1 from this 1.6 kilometer flat out stretch of track. And as you can see, the delta between myself and the Russian is about 1 second or so. Pay attention to the gap at the end of the straight, how much time he gains on us. It's absolutely insane.
Looking good.
As he's already gained about 1/10 of a second. And now as we head down to turn 1, pay attention to the gap. It was 1 second, and it's going to be dropping down to around 6/10 of a second. He gained about 4/10 in one straight. So as you can see, we need to make sure we keep the gap up in the corners, or we'll be very vulnerable on the straights. As we now fast forward to lap 9.
Everything's going to plan. I'm going to consider doing an extra lap on the softs in the next stint, because the tire wear is actually lower than usual.
Yes, so at the moment,
or we deal with all the pain now and then we push throughout the race and do an extra lap now.
I was experiencing some much lower tire than usual, which was very surprising, as usually the tires would only last 10 laps on the first stint with heavy fuel, but as you can see, the Russian now is boxing.
1.9, we should have enough.
He's going to have an undercut on us, but
push.
we're deciding to deal with all the pain of using up the soft tires for an extra lap, so that we can go 10 laps on the softs for the next 2 stints and push much harder, which overall felt like a better idea at the time. So to get into the pits, we're going to refill by about half a lap extra fuel so we can go 10 laps in this stint. And so far so good, a very good opening stint of the race. And as we exit the pits, you're going to notice the Russian driver's going to get the undercut on us, which is not ideal, but it's okay. We're going to stick with him. We've got very good pace, and we've got a driver up ahead who's not pitted yet.
Not ideal, but it's
in
fine.
the Mazda.
We can fully push now. Let's go.
Yeah, but that's the point of the strategy now. We don't have to worry about saving tires for the rest of the race. We can just absolutely full send it, and we can keep putting the Russian under pressure. And with the Mazda up ahead, he's going to give some dirty air onto his front end as we catch up to him on the lap 13. This is very good for us. It's slowing down the Russian and keeping us in the fight for P1 right now, a net P1. And as we close up at turn 5 and going into turn 6, 7, and 8 complex, you can see that the driver up ahead is definitely on the harder compounds, and we gained about at least 1.5 seconds in around about a lap on him. And as the Russian just punts the poor Mazda driver out the way, which at the time,
great driving, man,
I was not happy with. The poor Englishman got absolutely punted out the way, and in that situation I would have waited up for him, but honestly, to each their own. We're still having a really important race in our hands here, as we still keep applying a lot of pressure on the Russian driver. And so far so good, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to plan as he tries to go defensive into turn 13, which is interesting because I don't think you should ever go for a move there on a Supra because he'll just get right back past you going onto the main straight. So, yeah, honestly, I don't know what that was for. But as we now go onto the main straight,
Get him now, come on.
we're going to try and go for a move on the Supra. But as I said earlier, the Supra's top end speed is just second to none right now at the circuit with its amazing low end torque. So as we go up the hill to turn 1, the Supra is just unstoppable. We've gained it probably about 2 to 3 tenths on the straight, but it's not enough as he just keeps powering away, and really, yeah, it's just impossible to get past him. So this has changed the dynamic now that it's almost, we have to be within about 2 tenths to 3 tenths per second to get a move done on the Russian driver. And as I said there, I saw Trooper behind us, infamous Trooper from round 3 of the Manufacturers Cup.
We're in a good position, chat, so
we want to try and get past the Russian driver as soon as possible to build up a gap because we don't want to have anything to do with that driver behind us. And as we head to turn 14 and 15, the Russian almost loses his car completely going up the hill. And he managed to catch it, but it gives us an opportunity now to get past him going down the main straight, but it was too soon. The Russian can now completely just sail by past us because of his superior straight line speed.
You don't want to get that Supra with us.
But shockingly and surprisingly, he starts bump drafting us, which I did not expect. Just absolute legend for this because honestly, we can work together to get away from Chupo and make it a 2-horse race for the lead, which is amazing tactical.
Can we get some W's in the chat right now?
Tactical play by him, and as you can hear, I was very happy at the time because this meant that I can drag him along in the corners, but then he'll stay with me on the straights. But yeah, as we fast forward now all the way to lap 19, we've only built up about a 1.5 second gap.
Cool. The gap is opening up, this is good.
It is a pretty decent gap at the time, but honestly, it's not enough to cover off the undercut that the Supra is probably going to do again
P3
on us. But yeah, now we're just worrying about where Trooper is behind us. And he's around about 4 seconds behind us overall, which still means he's within striking distance if we start battling with the Russian later on in the race. So
he's gonna box.
As we fast forward to lap 20 now.
He's gonna box.
Yeah, I knew his strategy right now. At the moment, I thought the Russian was going to do a 10-10-10 soft strategy.
So he's going to be doing multiple laps on those hards.
However, right, we'll see later in the race that
box, let's go.
It's not as straightforward as I thought it was. As now we head down to turn 13, there's a yellow flag for someone up ahead who made a mistake, but luckily they managed to clear it up before we got there. And as we go safe and smooth through the chicane and onto the 1.5 kilometers long back straight, we are going to be boxing now for another set of soft tires to go another 10 laps. And the plan of action was to do the last lap of the race on hard tires to minimize the time loss. And so far the race is going fantastically well. But there's a huge critical error we're going to make now.
We can underfuel cars slightly because it seems like, yeah, very fuel
efficient. At the time, as you can hear, I was very happy with the fuel saving, but I made a critical error here. I actually underfueled my car by 1 lap. As you can see, I only filled it up for 10 laps. And if you're going to go into the pits again and fill it up for maybe only about a second or so of time, that little delay in between refueling and going out of the pits is very significant. So at the moment, we are looking good. We did build up a decent gap to the Russian behind us, but honestly, he's going to be coming back at us with these fresher tires.
He's coming.
And as you can hear, he's coming as he's now closed down the gap to all the way down to 4 tenths a second going into turn 1, which means that he's very close. If he stays around about this gap, 3-4 tenths going onto the straight the next lap, we're going to be extremely vulnerable. And we're starting to catch up to some back markers. I'm pretty sure that was the driver that made a mistake earlier on in the race. And yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with this dirty air because any little bit from a back marker can really affect the balance of the car and the tire life of my front tires, which is what the BMW was limited to. The rears were perfectly fine. It's just the car is so heavy over the front axle that the front tires can only probably last 11 laps. So being behind another driver or 2 drivers, if the Russian gets past us, it is going to chew up our front tires very quickly. So now as we exit turn 10, the Russian is still within 3.5 tenths of us, which is very nerve-wracking at the time because we know that if he's within about half a second to 6 tenths, he can easily fly by past us with no effort needed. As you can hear, I'm also saying not ideal, which means I'm very much aware that this Russian can make a move on us going into turn 1 on lap 25. So we need to try and get a very good exit out of the chicane going onto the main straight, which is very imperative. As we tackle the first part of the chicane very well, and the second part, we get on the throttle very early and get a very nice exit. But however, the Russian still gets a very solid exit and almost loses the rear, but he managed to keep it up in a straight line. And now he's within our slipstream, and he's going to be looking for a move going on to the next lap, which is not ideal for us because we need to be able to control from the front. As if we're stuck behind the Supra, we're going to be losing a lot of time behind him because he's much slower in the corners. But if we can't get past him in the straights, it means nothing really. So as he goes through the move into turn 1, we try to stick it around the outside, but to no avail. We have to slot in behind the Russian now, going down into turn 3, 4, and 5, the fastest corners on the track. And pay attention to how much more steering lock I'm going to need now as I'm in the dirty air of this Russian. As you can hear the tires squealing for life. And that's not going to be good for our tires in terms of their longevity. As we head down into turn 9 and 10 now, the back marker is going to do an absolute big favor for us. And let us through, which is going to help us now stick a little bit closer to the Russian as there's not 2 cars in front of us now creating dirty air. And as we fast forward now to lap 28, we've been applying a lot of pressure onto the Russian driver, but to no avail. Honestly, it's pretty difficult to get past this guy. And as we head now into chicane, we're going to be hoping to get a very solid exit here going on to the main straight, as we're now within 0.2 of a second of the Supra going into turn 1 now, as it's a completely flat out section, as we give him a little bump draft as we need to try and get past him later on the straight. As you can see, the Supra's already pulling away from us even if we're in his toe, but luckily we do have a bit of overspeed over the Supra. And surprisingly, as we head into turn 1, the Supra is just going to let us go ahead of him, which is very surprising. So at this moment, I genuinely thought he was going to be doing 2 laps on the hards, and he just realized, listen, we're going to be winning the race irrespective in his eyes. But actually, he was just trying to save some fuel so he doesn't have to refuel in the next pit stop, which is what is an absolute 300 IQ play by him.
What a legend, chap.
As you can see, I thought he was actually helping us out, but it was actually helping him out for the long run. And as we fast forward to lap 30 now, going to turn 13, we've built up a 1 second gap to the Russian behind us, which is looking good for us. As we now head into the first part of chicane, we miss the apex slightly, go on the throttle, miss the next apex, and go slightly wide. Luckily, we regain control of the car.
Not ideal.
But we do lose P1.
Really not ideal.
Going on to the penultimate lap of the race, which is really not ideal. As I didn't think the Russian was going to pit right now, but as you can see, he stays out, which means he's going to do only 1 lap on the hard tire. And honestly, the race is starting to fall apart for me. This is not what I expected, as we're 3 seconds a lap slower that lap than our PB, which is honestly heartbreaking to see all the hard work fall apart. But we're not going to give up. We're not going to give up. As we now go down to turn 3, 4, and 5, we get a lovely panning shot of the Grand Valley Highway circuit. Honestly, what a beautiful track this is. And honestly, my mindset right now is just to keep the Russian under pressure, because we know his tires are going to be marginal, just like ours. But honestly, we just need to keep applying that pressure and never give up, which South Africans are known for. And as we head into turn 8, 9, and then turn 10, we scraped the wall there, which is not ideal. But ladies and gentlemen, this is one of my favorite races of the year. The racing was so smart and clean. It wasn't full of like action wheel-to-wheel racing, but we're so close to each other on track throughout the entire 32-lap race. I don't think we ever were more than 2 seconds apart from each other, which is just so intense when we're driving in this position. But very satisfying as we now end Sector 2 and head into Sector 3 now. As we now drive into turn 13, you're going to notice the Russian up ahead is going to go very wide, as his front left tire must have given up already, as we gain around about 0.5 of a second in 1 corner alone, which does give us a chance now to fight the Russian going onto the last lap, as we both need to make our final pit stop onto hard tires. So it looks like we're still in the race, but don't forget what we said earlier. The Russian was behind us saving fuel, so on the last pit stop he does not have to refill his car, while we need to refill our car by around about 3%, So at the
He's got more
moment,
fuel than me. No,
we're out of the race. I hate to break it to you, ladies and gentlemen, but because there's a little bit of delay when you have to refill your car up, as it doesn't instantly start refilling, we're going to be around about a second to a second and a half behind the Russian going out of the pits. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that was our last chance of winning, thrown out the window right there, as the Russian played an absolute masterstroke early in the race, saving fuel behind us for those last couple of laps in the stint on the softs. So, honestly, as you can hear, I'm a bit frustrated. The Russian has done an amazing job as we head now into turn 7, 8, and 9. We're just going to keep trying to push on the last lap, see if he can make a mistake, as these hard tires were very cold as we came out the pits. As you can see, all the understeer, how much slower we have to go on these tires. I was very happy that I only had to do one lap on the hards, which was way better than trying to do a whole stint on them. As we head down to turn 11 for our last time of the race, we're going to keep applying pressure to the Russian, trying to catch him up, but honestly, it's a bit too big the gap now to make any impression on the Russian. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, I was very happy with my result today.
Irrespective if I was ahead of him, because he had extra fuel, it just saves him so much time.
And exactly what I just said there, even if we didn't make that mistake coming out of the chicane, I think he still would have had us, as he was still within a second, and he would have gained about 1.5 seconds coming out of the pits, as he didn't need to save fuel. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with my final reaction, and ciao ciao.
What a race, chap. Unfortunate. I think even with that mistake, I don't think I would have won. That's insane. GG's everyone. What a race. Woo! What a race. GG's. Let's go. Mamma mia, chap. That was unfortunate. Damn, chat. That's insane. I didn't expect him to do an extra lap on softs. I didn't expect that. I thought he was going to do an extra lap on hards. Honestly, he was slightly faster than me. GG's, guys. P2 is good. P2 is good. Good race. Good race, chap. Good race. Very good race. GG's to Marks. He did an amazing race. We also did a very, very good race. And even if I was ahead of him coming out of that chicane going into the pits, he would have had me. Because I had to refuel. I had to put some fuel in. So, yeah. Next time, if I'm in that situation again, I'm going to fill up my soft stint by an extra lap. So I don't have to fuel twice, if you know what I mean. That little delay. That was a good race. That was a very good race. 318 points, chap. 318 points. I'll take it.